Hey, I want one drink, Madison asked the bartender, placing some money on the counter. Here's the payment. Give me the hardest one you have. I want to forget the face of that guy. Did he leave you, ma'am? The bartender asked. That's none of your business, Madison snapped, rolling her eyes in irritation. Just give it to me. Hurry, she demanded, fanning herself with her hand, even though the bar was air-conditioned. She was in a foul mood because that ugly guy had just broken up with her. It was as if he thought she'd consider him a huge loss. What annoyed her more was that he took back all the expensive things he'd given her. He had reclaimed the expensive necklace, the bag, and even the iPhone he'd gifted her for her birthday. Who wouldn't get upset about that? The reason for their breakup was that Madison refused to sleep with him. She had told him that she wasn't ready because she wasn't married yet. Not her fault if he was born so fixated on that. She was actually glad he ended things, because his attitude had become unbearable over time. She only felt bitter that he had taken back everything he had given her. Ugh, so petty. All he had was money anyway. He must have really believed he was irreplaceable. Well, he wasn't. The bartender handed her a glass, and she downed it in one go. Her body moved to the music the moment she heard it, and with everything she'd been drinking, she felt like she was going crazy, laughing by herself. You men, if you're not handsome, at least make up for it with a good personality, she said loudly, pointing at the bartender, who was starting to blur in her vision. You're all sons of... she mumbled, then took another swig of her drink. In the midst of her drinking, a man suddenly sat beside her, but his attention wasn't on her, it was on the bartender. One glass, please, he requested in a low tone. Right away, sir, the bartender replied. Madison narrowed her eyes and then giggled. Why are you laughing? The man asked. She giggled again, then winked at him drunkenly. You're handsome, she slurred. Thank you, he responded. Don't thank me, she continued. Still doesn't mean you men are any use, she added, rolling her eyes. She couldn't see him well, but he seemed handsome enough. Oh my gosh, that guy's so annoying, she mumbled. He left me just because I wouldn't sleep with him. I told him to marry me first, but he refused. Idiot. I've always dreamed of having a wed... She didn't finish speaking because she slid off the high chair, raised both hands, and swayed to the music with a laugh, heading to the dance floor. Once there, someone suddenly pulled her. She stumbled backward into a fragrant-smelling chest. Looking up, she realized it was the same man from earlier. She pouted. Do you want to marry me? She asked, lips forming a pout again. Ugh, men are all so annoying. Let go. I want to dance. I want to forget that jerk, she complained. He's so irritating. He probably expects me to chase after him. He's not even good-looking. She started twerking in the middle of the dance floor, noticing the man had followed her and was dancing alongside her. Then he leaned in from behind and whispered in her ear, his breath smelling of alcohol. Do you want to get married? She kept dancing, feeling his hand on her waist. She turned to face him. Yes, I do. She was surprised when he cupped her chin, giving her a grin. Well then, let's get married. They were probably both very drunk. She giggled. Where's the ring? Where's the minister? She asked. You really... He trailed off. Madison couldn't recall exactly how it happened, but in her drunken state, the next thing she knew, she was signing something while chatting with the stranger. You, me, now kiss the bride, bro, announced someone else, raising a glass in a toast. She looked at the man, who was staring at her seriously. He clasped her chin and gradually closed his eyes, leaning in to kiss her lips. She woke up in her bedroom with a splitting headache, roused by her mother. She would have kept sleeping if her mother hadn't awakened her. You got home so late, and another man dropped you off. Is he your lover? Her mom snapped. Madison scrambled backward on the bed when she saw her mother holding a plastic dipper, Mum, why are you holding that? She asked, swallowing hard. Her mum eyed her sternly. I was about to pour water on you because you wouldn't wake up, she muttered. Explain yourself. Who's the man who brought you home last night? Is he your lover? What are you talking about, Mom? My lover? Madison repeated in confusion. Yes, a lover, her mother pressed. Your boyfriend's not exactly the best, but having an affair is worse. If you don't want him anymore, then just break it off. Mum, what are you even saying? Ethan and I already broke up, Madison admitted. Her mother quieted down at that and Madison bit her lower lip. He dumped me yesterday. So that's why you got drunk? Her mother asked, her tone calmer now. Madison nodded sadly and sighed. Then who's that man who brought you home last night? Is he your new boyfriend? Her mother asked. He was handsome, nothing like your ex, she added, furrowing her brow as she looked at Madison. I can't remember, Mom. Maybe just a bouncer, she guessed. But that man drove a really fancy car, her mother said, shaking her head. Madison stood up. Whoever had taken her home, she was thankful. At least she got home safely. But she was no longer interested in men right now. Maybe she'd just join a convent if she kept having bad luck with men. Mum, I'm going to shower, Madison announced. But before she could reach the bathroom, her younger sister Lauren burst into the room. What now, Lauren? Her mother asked. Mum, we have a visitor. It's a man. He's really handsome, smells great, tall, looks rich, Lauren said, turning to Madison. He's the one who brought you home last night, Sis Madison. Madison's mouth fell open, and her mother looked as if she'd been sprinkled with salt, giggling at Lauren's excitement. Noticing Madison's reaction, her mother suddenly splashed a little water at her. Mom! Madison shrieked. Go shower! You reek like stale alcohol! Her mother ordered, leaving the bedroom with Lauren. After showering and getting dressed, Madison came out of her room, planning to thank whoever this man was. Son, do you know my daughter? Her mother could be heard asking. I've never seen you before. Listen, she just broke up with her boyfriend, Ethan. The older woman gossiped, so Madison hurried to the living room to stop her. The man was staring at Madison, who smiled in embarrassment and sat beside her mum. He's so good-looking, her mother whispered. Madison turned to him. Sir, are you the one who brought me home last night? She asked with a smile. Thank you for making sure I got home safely. The man said nothing, just kept looking at her, so Madison continued talking. By the way, what brings you here? Did I forget something in your car? She asked curiously. The man placed an envelope on the table. Madison frowned, picking it up to open it. Her brow furrowed deeper when she saw that it contained official-looking documents. What's that, dear? Her mother asked. Is that money? Madison read what was written, and her mouth fell open. It was a marriage contract. Glancing up at the top page, her face went pale as she turned to the man. What does this mean? She asked. He sighed. I'm here to pick you up, he replied. You're my wife now, so I'm taking you to my place. You're going to live with me, my wife. His statement made her jaw drop. What? She stood up. What are you talking about? I just broke up with my boyfriend yesterday and now… She pointed to herself, then to him. You're saying I'm your wife? He merely arched an eyebrow. She laughed, seeing how serious he was. There was no hint of joking in his face. Mom? Madison whispered. Her mother tugged on her sleeve. Daughter, it looks legitimate, her mother said, showing Madison the signature. That is your signature, dear, and this looks like a valid document. Madison froze, took the paper from her mother, and stared at her own signature. How did this happen? She asked, turning to the man. We got married last night, he informed her. We both signed, we said our vows, and we kissed. Madison gasped. What? She exclaimed. I'm here to pick you up, he repeated. You're my wife now, so let's live together. Madison thought she might lose her mind. She panicked when he stood up, so she approached him, swallowing hard. If this is real, what do I do to nullify it? I don't understand, sir, she stammered. I was drunk last night. I was drunk too, he said, folding his arms, but I remember everything. Her heart pounded. How can we invalidate it? She asked desperately. It took him a moment to answer. You have to pay me $2 million, he finally said. Madison nearly collapsed at the figure, and she heard her mother gasp. She turned pale. $2 million? She echoed. Yup, he answered simply. We don't have $2 million, dear, her mother cut in. I haven't even paid off my debt for that underwear I bought from Tracy. What have you gotten yourself into? This is all Ethan's fault. Madison let out a deep breath. Sir, can't we discuss this? We were both drunk. Surely you don't want to be married to someone like me, do you? She asked hopefully. I'm old enough to get married, he said. Marrying a stranger isn't that bad, though. Her mother leaned in to whisper. Sweetheart, what's with the drama? Do you have $2 million? Huh? Besides, I think he has plenty of money. Look at his clothes, her mother urged. Madison glanced the man over. He was nothing like Ethan. This is your chance to get back at Ethan, her mother continued in a hushed tone. That man is a blessing in disguise. Madison shot her a glare, and her mother raised an eyebrow right back. Oh? Do you have $2 million? Madison clenched her fists and studied the man's face. So I'll stay married to you until you get tired of me, right? She asked. Am I going to get anything out of this until you get tired of me? He shrugged. Sure, if you want to think of it that way. Madison let out a scoffing laugh. You're definitely going to get sick of me. I don't shower all the time. I don't always brush my teeth. I have body odor and my breath stinks. You'll be sick of me fast. Wait, where are you going? She called after him as he walked out the door, apparently done listening to her attempt at self-sabotage. Stepping outside, she froze at the sight of 5 large men dressed in all black, wearing sunglasses. She swallowed hard. Wow, sis, Madison, your husband is loaded, exclaimed Lauren beside her. He's way better than Ethan. Way better? Her mother added. No contest, he's on a whole other level, that Ethan doesn't even compare. Her mother tapped her on the shoulder. Own up to your silly mistake, dear. It doesn't bother me because he doesn't seem like a bad guy. Just don't make trouble for me since I don't have $2 million. Madison groaned. I will never get drunk again. I hate you, Ethan. I swear, may no one else ever date you, you worthless creep. She thought, feeling utterly annoyed. She, Madison Atwood, had been dumped by her ex just yesterday, and then she woke up married to a very handsome stranger. Was this bad luck, a new challenge, or perhaps the chance she needed to change her life? The man looked back at her. I'm not taking you right now. Make sure by the time I return, you've reached your decision, or have the $2 million ready. Bye for now, my wife, he said, before getting in his car with the men in black. Madison's shoulders slumped as she watched them vanish. Oh dear, don't you dare get back with Ethan, her mother chimed in. I like the man you married. He's handsome and loaded. He'll give you beautiful children with nice high-bridged noses. Ethan doesn't have that. Think hard about this, she advised. A week passed since that startling twist in Madison's life. The man did not come back, and she prayed he never would. Mum, you really believe all that? It's not true, she insisted. He was drunk, I was drunk, and a whole week's gone by without him returning. He must have realized it was a mistake. Her mother frowned. I don't know, dear. He was really handsome. Why should you settle for Ethan, who's so ugly? It's not like we come from an ugly family. Sure, it'd be fine if Ethan at least had a good attitude, but he doesn't, she added. Mum, let's not talk about Ethan. I'll have nightmares. Madison muttered. She grabbed her bag to head to work, determined to save up for that $2 million, just in case that crazy, handsome man really showed up again to collect her. "Is it true you and Ethan broke up?" asked Jessica, one of Madison's co-workers, clapping her hands in delight. Even Aubrey came over to Madison's desk. "Is it true? Who ended it, you or him?" Madison sighed. "He did," she answered. Both women gasped. "He did!" they repeated in disbelief. Madison nodded, rolling her eyes. "That's why you guys couldn't reach me. He took back the iPhone he'd given me," she added. "No way!" Jessica exclaimed. Madison pressed her index finger to her lips. "Keep your voices down, or the rumor will spread and the boss might hear." Aubrey cleared her throat. "Speaking of the boss, remember Mr. Jordan stepped down as CEO? I just recalled that." Madison's jaw dropped. "He did? I didn't know." Jessica rolled her eyes. "Of course you didn't. You don't have a phone, remember? It was in our group chat. And today, we're welcoming the new CEO," she explained. Madison pursed her lips. "I hope the new CEO is nice." "I think so," Aubrey said. "Mr. Jordan was nice too." "I hope so," Madison sighed, then resumed working. She only got about 30 minutes of work done before their supervisor told them to stop, because the new CEO had arrived. They gathered in the lobby to welcome him. "I hope he's handsome," Aubrey whispered, gently nudging Madison's shoulder. "We need some inspiration around here," she teased. Jessica chimed in softly. "I heard from Sir Arl that the new CEO is married, and his wife also works here." Madison turned to Jessica. "Really? Who could it be? She's so lucky," Madison murmured, scanning their other co-workers, all of whom were buzzing with excitement at the CEO's arrival. "Maybe Hannah?" Madison guessed, eyeing Hannah, who looked extremely excited and whose cheeks were bright red, though Jessica lightly smacked Madison's arm. "Ow! Why'd you do that?" Madison hissed. "Hannah's face is probably red from overusing beauty products," Jessica teased. "She's not love-struck." Madison giggled. "Then maybe it's Rosie. She's the prettiest among that group, and she's loaded too," Madison speculated. "You know how wealthy people tend to date other wealthy people." She paused. "Actually, Ethan only dated me because I'm pretty, and he's—" "Shh," Jessica reminded her. "Focus. We have to be ready." They waited almost an hour before a sleek car finally pulled up to the company entrance. They assembled in neat rows, each holding a yellow rose to offer the new CEO as a welcome gesture. "There he is," Aubrey whispered excitedly as the glass doors slid open, revealing a tall man. "Welcome to the company, Mr. Daniel Jordan," their team lead announced, handing him a rose first. The man accepted it, his profile partially turned. Madison frowned. He seemed familiar. Where had she seen him before? One by one, the employees stepped forward to present their roses, some of them giggling because of how handsome he was. Then his gaze locked with Madison's. Her eyes went wide, and she stepped back in shock. She recognized him. It was the same man from a week ago who had shown up at her house. Panic fluttered in her chest. "Hey, Madison, are you okay?" Aubrey asked, noticing Madison stepping backward. I have to use the restroom," Madison stammered, shoving her rose into Aubrey's hand. "You go give it. I really need to go." "Now? Seriously?" Aubrey hissed. Yes, I really have to go," Madison insisted, swallowing hard. She turned to leave but froze the moment she heard his voice. "Where are you going, my wife?" he asked. She felt like a statue, swallowing the lump in her throat. Murmurs spread among the employees. When she glanced back, she saw him approaching her. Jessica and Aubrey's jaws dropped as he walked right past them to stand in front of Madison. She swallowed again, noticing his serious expression. "Trying to run away from me?" he asked with a smirk. I told you I'd come back. Now I assume you've made your decision, or have you gathered 2 million in your pocket? Madison wished the ground would swallow her up. She felt mortified. The man cupped her chin, prompting gasps from her co-workers who witnessed it. Decide now, my wife, he said with a grin. Be my wife or pay me $2 million for breaking up with me. Her knees felt weak. She didn't have 2 million. She'd only started saving. No need to do that, he said, sliding an arm around her shoulders. She inhaled sharply as he faced everyone else. Thank you for the warm welcome. This is my wife, Madison Atwood. He turned back to her. Please treat her with respect. After that announcement, he took her hand and guided her toward the elevator. Madison closed her eyes in embarrassment. She had hoped he'd forgotten about her, but it turned out he was the CEO here, and he had just introduced her as his wife in front of everyone. Lord, please take me now, she thought, beyond humiliated. I'm making you my secretary, Daniel announced, yanking her out of her thoughts. They were in his office now, the one that used to belong to the previous CEO. She still couldn't believe he was the new CEO, or that he had announced their marriage in front of everyone. Surely they'd all start asking questions. How could that be, when she'd just broken up with Ethan? I'm not a secretary, sir, Madison argued, swallowing hard. I'm good in my current position. Don't you want to see me every day? Daniel teased with a smirk. She clenched her fists and took a deep breath. It's not that, sir, but... He cut her off. Now you're calling me sir? That's not how you should address your husband, he pointed out. We're at work, Madison insisted. I don't care, he replied. Call me my husband. She gritted her teeth. Professionally speaking, sir is more appropriate here. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. She hurried out before he could say another word. Madison, is it true? Are you really married to our new CEO? Jessica exclaimed, practically whacking Madison's shoulder. How did that happen? You just broke up with Ethan. Aubrey chimed in, crossing her arms. Madison didn't know what to say. Would they believe her if she told them she had gotten drunk and ended up married to their boss? Or that now she had to cough up $2 million if she wanted out? They'd probably laugh in her face. Maybe you bewitched him, Madison, said a voice behind them. It was Rosie, eyebrow arched. Bewitched, Madison repeated incredulously. Rosie nodded. Yes, right before you broke up with your ugly ex, you never even hinted about this new one. You reached too high this time, snaring a CEO, Rosie commented. Hey, Rosie, Aubrey interjected. Madison didn't throw herself at the CEO. He came to her and announced to everyone that she's his wife. Don't act so jealous. Rosie rolled her eyes. I'm not jealous. I'm just giving my opinion. It doesn't make sense. Madison rubbed her temples. Honestly, the events didn't make sense to her either. Should she just quit so she wouldn't have to see him anymore? But what about her mother's bills and sister's tuition? She couldn't do that. She remained tight-lipped and answered none of their questions. Feeling overwhelmed, she waited for her shift to end. She left immediately, hoping to avoid another wave of gossip. Standing at the curb, she realized it was already 7 p.m. and she was starving. Madison, someone called. She turned to see Ethan. Immediately, her mood plummeted. What are you doing here? She asked coldly, noticing he was carrying a bouquet and a paper bag. I came to visit you, he said, forcing a smile. How are you? Madison rolled her eyes. I'm fine since you left me. His smile vanished. Didn't you cry at all after our breakup? He asked. Of course I cried, she replied, watching his face brighten slightly. But I cried because you took back all the gifts you gave me, she finished. I wouldn't cry for someone like you. Ethan stepped closer. Babe, he said, making Madison cringe at the endearment. Don't call me that, she snapped, rolling her eyes. I'm over you. That's why I'm here. I realized I can't be without you. Let's get back together, please, Ethan pleaded. Madison laughed out loud. Why do you want to get back together? Is it because no one else wants you? She asked bluntly. I'm not interested in people who are obsessed with… Well, let's just say I realized you're not really worth losing. His expression hardened. Are you saying that just because I took back the things I bought you? He asked. She nodded. Yes, exactly. At least you know, she said. Fine, then I'll give them all back. The iPhone, bracelet, necklace, everything. Just come back to me, please, he begged. I miss you. She felt a surge of fear when Ethan grabbed her wrist. Let me go, you jerk, she hissed, trying to yank away, but he tightened his grip. Let go, she insisted. Why won't you come back to me? Okay, I know I'm ugly, but I'm the only rich guy who bothered with you, Madison, he spat out. We've been through so much. Don't act like it means nothing. You're the one who left, she pointed out. Her heart pounded as he grew more aggressive. They were in a quiet spot outside the company building. No one else was around. She spotted a man walking by. Sir, help, she called. The stranger approached. What's going on here? He asked Ethan. She's my girlfriend. Mind your own business, friend. Ethan sneered. The man looked uncertain, then stepped back and left, intimidated by Ethan's threats. Ethan turned to Madison. Stop making a scene and come with me. It's not like we haven't been together before. She refused. No, let go, she yelled, but Ethan pulled her toward his car. Desperate, Madison spotted another figure approaching. Sir, help, she begged. A tall man stepped forward. It was Daniel. What are you doing? Ethan asked angrily. And why are you holding Madison? She's my wife, Daniel said firmly, causing Ethan to step back in surprise. Madison could feel Daniel's protective hand on her. Are you her lover? Ethan demanded. Daniel said nothing, but Madison felt the grip on her tighten, which oddly made her feel safe. She's not your girlfriend, Daniel told Ethan bluntly. Ethan's jaw clenched. Wait, who are you? And why do you act like you own the place? Ethan scoffed. Because I do own this place, Daniel replied calmly, sending chills through Madison. Ethan laughed in disbelief. Well, I own the woman you're holding, he growled. She's my property. Madison gasped as Ethan suddenly threw a punch, landing it on Daniel's jaw. Daniel stumbled back, letting go of Madison for a moment, then retaliated with a punch of his own that collided with Ethan's face. Yeah, punch him, Madison accidentally cheered, pumping her fist in the air. Both men paused and stared at her. What? She said, blinking. Go on, continue. A few security guards ran over after Madison yelled for help, separating the two men. Daniel's lip was bleeding. Ethan was sporting a black eye. The guards held Ethan firmly. Leave now! I'm not getting back together with you, Madison said. Ethan glared at her. Is it true what he said? Is he really your husband? He asked, still not entirely believing. Daniel stared at Madison, also waiting for her answer. She drew in a shaky breath before responding. Yes, it's true, Ethan. He's my husband, she said clearly. So leave and stop bothering me. Ethan didn't look convinced, so Madison walked over to Daniel, stood on tiptoe, and kissed him on the lips. Daniel looked shocked. She nibbled her bottom lip nervously as she turned back to Ethan. Go, Ethan. Don't bother me again. Ethan broke free from the guards, grabbed the bouquet and paper bag he'd dropped on the ground, marched to his car, and drove off. The moment he was gone, Madison took a deep breath and closed her eyes, feeling relief wash over her. Daniel took her to an upscale restaurant, but she could hardly eat because she was still shaken by what had happened. Even though Ethan was gone, her nerves remained on edge. He was stronger than her, and she worried he might corner her again. Are you okay now? Daniel asked. She looked up at him and gave a small nod. Yes, thank you, Daniel. If it weren't for you, who knows where Ethan would have taken me? Is that guy really your ex? Daniel asked, his brow furrowed in concern. Madison sighed. Yes. At first, he treated me right, but over time his true colors showed. I couldn't leave him because he wouldn't let me. So I was shocked and thankful when he dumped me. She laughed bitterly. I just hated how he took back all his gifts. And now he wants me back. It's ridiculous. He said he'd return all those gifts, as if that would persuade me. You kissed me, Daniel reminded her suddenly, making her freeze. That means you're done with him for good, he added. She felt her cheeks heat up. Even if I hadn't kissed you, I still wouldn't get back with him, she pointed out. Daniel pursed his lips, then asked, So, are you willing to be my wife now? Should we give our drunken marriage a shot? Madison sighed. If we're both drunk, we just end up married, is that it? She tried to sound sarcastic, and Daniel laughed loudly. Other customers glanced over at them, but he didn't seem to care. His eyes nearly disappeared when he laughed, and his dimples showed. She realized how extremely handsome he was. He looked like someone out of a TV drama. What do you want? Daniel said once he calmed down. Should we really try being married? After all, we're already tied by that paper, so why not? Maybe it'll work out, right, my wife? She didn't respond right away, still thinking it over. Because if your ex shows up again and I'm not around, that'll be trouble, Daniel added, folding his arms. Anyway, it's strange that you date someone like that. He's the total opposite of me. Why not give me a chance? Maybe we'll click. Madison regarded him carefully. You really think we'll work out? She asked. He nodded confidently. I'll make it work. Once I let someone into my life, even if it's a drunk wedding, I take it seriously. You? She bit her lip. Fine, I'll agree if we can break it off the moment either one of us falls for someone else. Deal? A small smirk appeared on his lips. What if we end up falling for each other? Will we get married again? She froze and he grinned. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. When he opened it, Madison's jaw dropped, and so did her heart. It was a ring. Wear this ring if you agree to our arrangement, he said. If you accept that we really are married, put it on your finger. Madison gulped. Am I putting it on myself? He shook his head. Give me your hand. Without thinking, she offered him her left hand. He took it gently, sending a sudden rush of nervous energy through her. This ring symbolizes our marriage. Drunk or not, we are married, Madison, he murmured, sliding the ring onto her finger. She forgot to breathe momentarily, staring at the sparkling band perfectly fit on her finger. Please don't take it back if we break up, she blurted, glancing at him. My ex did that, so, if you're that type, don't give me anything in the first place. Daniel wrapped his hand around hers and drew it close. Don't worry, I'm not that kind of guy, my wife, he said, pressing a kiss to her hand that made her heart pound. She quickly withdrew her hand. Let's just eat, she stammered. Then I'll head home on my own. I'll take you, he offered. No need, I can manage, she insisted, grabbing her utensils and starting to eat. Time passed quickly. In 2 months, Madison gradually accepted that she was indeed married to the company's new CEO. Additionally, he'd made her his secretary, so they spent a lot of time together. She also realized how different Daniel was compared to Ethan. He was kind, genuinely caring, and extremely handsome. Who wouldn't be smitten? I'm going to your place tomorrow, Daniel announced one day during a work break. I'm taking you with me. I have a condo and I live alone. Since you're my wife, you should stay there with me. Do we really need to do that? She asked, cheeks warming. Yes, he confirmed. People are starting to wonder why we don't go home to the same place. Plus, my parents are flying in from the West Coast. I plan to introduce you to them. They already know we're married? Madison asked. Daniel nodded confidently. I told them all about you, how you cook my favorite meals. She pressed her lips together, suppressing a smile. In the 2 months that had gone by, she'd learned that Daniel was nothing like Ethan. Good looks, good heart. It was impossible not to feel drawn to him. She felt lucky. She had a crush on her own husband. He chuckled. So is that a yes? Madison swallowed. Yes, I'll do it. We'll live in one place. We'll share a bed, she said, hesitantly. Daniel stood up from his swivel chair and walked over to her. He slipped an arm around her waist. Really? He asked, pulling her closer. She felt a jolt of electricity at the contact. Madison glanced at her reflection. Would she be happy sharing one home with Daniel? She looked at him curiously. Why wouldn't she be? He wondered. You're fun to be with. You're not boring, Daniel added. Madison noticed his gaze drift to her lips. Her heartbeat sped up as his gaze lingered there. Can I kiss you? Daniel asked, meeting her eyes again. I want to kiss you, my wife. His eyes grew soft in a way that made Madison feel weak. She closed hers as he slowly leaned in until their lips met. The moment their lips touched, she gripped his shoulders and returned his kiss. She wasn't sure how it happened, but suddenly she found herself perched on top of his desk, her legs around his waist, nearly ripping her corporate attire because of how tightly he held her. He was so aggressive, it seemed as if they'd stripped down right there in his office and let things escalate, had it not been for a knock on the door that saved her from going any further. Ugh, Madison, her mum said immediately. It's perfectly fine if you don't come home tonight, she teased when Madison told her she'd be moving in with Daniel. Mum, it's like you don't want me around anymore, Madison quipped. Daniel laughed at what she said. Oh, it's not that, her mum insisted, flashing a sweet smile at Daniel. It's better for the two of you to be under the same roof so you can have a baby. Right, Daniel? She turned expectantly to Daniel, who agreed. You should have lots of kids, her mum added, beaming. Fill up the house. Madison looked at Daniel. He seemed interested in that idea too. She simply sighed and shook her head. Don't neglect my daughter, okay? It's her first time moving out of the house, her mum continued. But I have just one request. What do you want? Madison asked. Grandkids, of course, her mum exclaimed, and gave a mischievous giggle. Madison grimaced at that, then reached for her suitcase. She saw Daniel, who looked amused by the conversation. She rolled her eyes and walked ahead to his car. We'll stay at my condo for now, Daniel said once they arrived. But after I introduce you to my parents, we'll move into a bigger home. Madison froze, glancing at him. You're serious? You're really introducing me to your parents? She asked. What if they find out we only got married because we were drunk that night? He gently took her hand. They won't find out, unless you tell them, he said, brushing a thumb across her cheek. Besides, they're just happy I'm finally married. They won't worry that I might grow old alone. With how you look, Madison teased, no way you'd end up alone. You've got plenty of women falling for you. Daniel arched a brow. Are you one of them? She fell silent. He smiled when she didn't answer. Silence means yes, he teased, making her blush. She turned away. Why ask such things when you basically had me pinned on your desk earlier? She said, eyes darting elsewhere. Daniel blinked, then burst out laughing. Shh, should we continue that later? She rolled her eyes. Dream on, Romeo. I have to unpack in your condo. All you think about is flirting. She grabbed her bags and headed to what would be her bedroom. He followed with the rest of her stuff, laughing. You're the only one I want to flirt with, he called after her, causing her to smile. Living with Daniel was pleasant, 1,000 times better than being with her ex, Ethan. It had only been a few months since that drunken wedding, yet it felt like fate might finally be on her side. She heard nothing from Ethan, and he never showed up again. Perhaps it was best that she and Daniel now had their own place. In the office, they hardly interacted, which helped keep gossip to a minimum. Daniel seemed eager to take a work leave. One evening, while they were relaxing in his condo, he wrapped an arm around her as they sat on the sofa, both watching a large TV screen. "I missed you," he whispered in her ear. "Sorry I barely paid attention to you at work today." Madison pursed her lips. "Actually, that's what we should do. It's better I'm not everyone's hot topic. We can just talk outside work." Daniel's expression darkened. "Who's been talking?" "I'll fire them. I don't tolerate gossip in my company." She quickly clamped a hand over his mouth. He looked startled. "Don't do that," she insisted. "They may be gossipy, but they have families to feed," she said, biting her lip. "It's better for us anyway, being professional on the job." She caught his necktie in her hand. He hadn't changed out of his work clothes yet, and pulled him closer. "I missed you too," she said with a smile. His expression turned serious at her words. "Really?" She nodded. "Yes, I miss my husband." "Prove it, my wife. I don't believe just words." She gave him a playful look, then let go of his tie. He looked disappointed. "See? You don't even believe me," she teased. "I'll believe you if you back up your words with action," he challenged, eyebrow raised. She smirked, then abruptly seized his tie again and tugged him so their faces nearly touched. He swallowed. "I miss you, my husband," she murmured, closing her eyes to kiss him on the lips. As their mouths met, she felt a rush of heat, especially when Daniel gripped her waist to deepen the kiss. "I missed you too," he whispered in between kisses, guiding her to lie down on the sofa. Nothing too scandalous happened that night, just a steamy make-out session. Madison was impressed by Daniel's self-control. He knew how to hold back, unlike some men she knew. They spent 2 months hardly acknowledging each other at work, only meeting at home because Daniel was so busy as CEO. As his secretary, Madison only talked to him in the office for work-related matters. "Madison," said Aubrey in the cafeteria, "Hannah's been telling everyone you and Daniel broke up." Jessica nodded from across the table. "She's thrilled because you two ignore each other at work." Madison frowned. "Where'd she get that idea?" "She claims you're not pregnant, so maybe you're not intimate," Jessica said, biting into her fried chicken. "She also suggests maybe you're infertile, or that Daniel won't touch you because you're not good in bed, or you used some spell to trick him." Madison's blood boiled. What the heck did she just say? That I'm not any good? Has she tasted me? She snapped, her voice rising. She began shoveling her food in quickly, angry. "Calm down, Madison," Aubrey murmured, awkwardly patting her shoulder. "She's just jealous, but keep your voice down, it's embarrassing." Madison huffed. "Am I that unattractive? She's acting like Daniel wouldn't ever want to touch me. And for the record, I don't dabble in spells. And I'm definitely not infertile." She slammed her hand on the table, making other employees glance over. Jessica and Aubrey stared at Madison with wide eyes. "I'll show that woman," Madison said fiercely. "How dare she call me undesirable and infertile?" Aubrey swallowed. "What are you going to do?" Madison gulped down the rest of her juice. "I'm going to get pregnant by my husband." Jessica promptly spat out her water in shock, and Aubrey's jaw dropped. "Are you serious?" Aubrey asked. "You used to say you were scared to get pregnant." Madison shrugged. "I was, but my husband's handsome. He can get me pregnant 100 times for all I care. Then Hannah will see I'm definitely not infertile when my belly grows," Madison said with a smirk. After finishing lunch, they stepped out of the cafeteria and spotted Hannah laughing with some friends. She hadn't noticed Madison yet, so Madison paused to listen. "No wonder they ignore each other at work," Hannah was saying. Probably karma. She used to date that ugly ex of hers, and now that she's with a rich hottie, he's ignoring her. She's probably not pregnant because they haven't slept together, one of Hannah's friends chimed in. Or maybe she's just a gold digger. She looks like someone who only cares about money. Or maybe she really did cast some love spell. One friend noticed Madison glaring and nudged Hannah. Hannah froze when she saw Madison. In the future, say it to my face. Madison cut in, stepping forward. Hannah's eyes went wide and she shrank back in alarm. Done spreading lies? Hannah didn't speak, so Madison leaned in closer. If you've got gossip about me, come straight to me and say it. Got that? Madison gave her a light shove to move her aside and walked on. Get me pregnant, Madison declared that evening at the condo during dinner. Daniel nearly spat out his food. We're eating, Madison, he reminded her. What are you saying? Don't you want to get me pregnant? Madison asked. If not, I'll ask someone else. Daniel's eyes flashed. What the? Are you serious? Are you okay? She nodded. Yes, I'm serious. We've been married for a while now, and rumors say I'm infertile and not good enough in bed. I want to prove them wrong. Daniel sighed, taking her hand. You don't have to prove anything to them, my wife. You're only saying that because you actually don't want kids, Madison accused. I do. Of course I do, Daniel replied. That's why I'm trying to wrap up work so I can take a break. Once I'm on leave, I'll have time for you. We can make babies. Madison's jaw dropped. You really mean it? He nodded. Yes, in fact, I have good news. We're driving out tomorrow to see my parents at their farmland. That's where we'll be spending our vacation, and where I'll introduce you to them officially. Madison's nerves fluttered. Tomorrow already? Yeah, he said. You won't have to worry about my schedule. You'll be my focus from now on. Part of Madison was excited to have Daniel to herself for a while, but she worried about meeting his parents on their farm. She pictured them unleashing animals if they didn't approve of her. Good thing she'd been on the track team in high school. If push came to shove, she could run fast. Still, she hoped they'd like her, because she definitely wanted to keep Daniel. They left early the next morning in Daniel's car, driving to a sprawling piece of farmland. Madison was amazed at how huge the area was, especially when she saw several horses grazing. You have so many animals, she exclaimed, leaning by the window. Oh, there's more than just horses, Daniel answered, still focused on the road. We have goats, sheep, cattle, and ostriches. Hearing cattle, Madison swallowed nervously. What if your parents turn one of them loose on me if they don't like me? She blurted out. Daniel burst out laughing, causing Madison to lean back in her seat and sulk. Why are you laughing? You know I barely slept from worrying about this. They'll like you, Madison. Don't worry, Daniel reassured her. I don't want your vacation ruined by silly fears. When they finally arrived, Madison was startled when a woman in boots came bounding over and hugged her tightly, smelling strongly of pigs. I can't breathe, Madison managed, and the woman finally let go. She wore a huge grin. Madison blinked. Is she the caretaker for the pigs or something? Daniel followed, and the woman hugged him next. Who's that, Daniel? Ma'am, you smell like a barn, he teased. Go get changed first, he added. Madison's mouth hung open. This was Daniel's mother. I know, his mom replied, giving Madison a bright smile. So, you're Madison, my son's wife? Madison nodded absently. Sorry I hugged you right away, dear. I just came from the pig pens. Mum, why were you doing that yourself? Daniel asked. Where are the workers? Elisa got sick, so I stepped in for now, she said, then turned to Madison again. How are you? Was my son fun to be around, or is he boring? Still in mild shock, Madison managed a nod. She'd expected his mother to be all sophisticated and disapproving, maybe throwing coffee in her face if she disliked her. Instead, here was a smiling woman who smelled of pig manure and looked perfectly happy. Maybe if she ended up hating Madison, she'd toss her into the pig pens. "I'm glad my son won't be alone anymore," Daniel's mum went on. "Come inside the house. I'll get changed." Later, when Daniel's mom returned, she was dressed stylishly, exuding wealth, and welcomed them to the grand house. She couldn't stop smiling. "So, dear, what's your job?" she asked as a housekeeper brought out snacks. "I work at Daniel's company. I'm his secretary now," Madison answered. His mum chuckled, causing Madison to frown, a bit confused. "Why are you laughing?" "I was my husband's secretary too, before we got together," his mom confessed. "Looks like we share the same twist of fate." Madison's jaw dropped. "Really?" "Yes," his mom nodded. "I actually hated him before because he was such a bad boy who scolded me all the time. But how did we end up married?" She gave a playful shrug. "He tricked me into signing documents when I was drunk. I was about to quit, but I ended up with a wedding contract instead. I hope your situation wasn't like mine," she added with a laugh. "I was furious, but my husband knew how to charm me, so eventually he won my heart, and we had Daniel." Madison froze. She was about to answer when Daniel's mom asked, "So where exactly did you meet my son?" Madison's pulse quickened, suddenly sweaty with nerves. Daniel was off talking to his dad. Just as she tried to think of something to say, his mom's phone rang. She excused herself, leaving Madison alone, exhaling in relief. "How'd your chat with your dad go?" Madison asked Daniel a bit later. They were out in another section of the farmland, next to a small barn and a large shady tree, while a few cattle grazed nearby. "It's fine," Daniel replied. "Looks like it'll be just the two of us here for the vacation. My parents are heading to the city for some errands." "That's good," Madison blurted out, making Daniel blink. She grinned and grabbed his arm. "We'll have the whole place to ourselves. You like that?" He shrugged. "Sure. We'll get to know each other better." She released his arm and moved over to one of the cows, taking hold of the rope it was tethered with. "I wonder if I can ride it," she said excitedly. "Let's ride together." "No, not that cow, my wife," Daniel insisted. "There are horses we can use. Let the cow rest. He's been plowing all morning." She pouted. "Oh, right. He must be so tired." With a sigh, she turned to head back to Daniel, but accidentally stepped on something slippery, lost her balance, and fell, face first, into a fresh pile of manure. She gripped her fists tightly when she heard Daniel burst into laughter. She glared at him as he approached. "Give me your hand," he said, still trying to stifle his laughter. "I'll help you. You should have been careful. There's a lot of manure." "Yeah, thanks for laughing first," she hissed, grabbing his outstretched hand and yanking hard, causing him to lose his footing. He ended up falling into the manure as well. She erupted in laughter. "That's what you get," she teased, plopping onto the ground and giggling at the sight of Daniel's face covered in manure. Daniel grinned in response, which made her freeze. "Why are you smiling like that? Enjoy the taste of manure." "Just you wait," he said. He stood, and she quickly jumped to her feet and dashed off with Daniel chasing her. But right in the middle of their playful chase, a large bull appeared, poised to charge. They both froze. Daniel grabbed Madison's arm. "Don't run," he whispered urgently. "Are you kidding?" she shouted and sprinted toward the barn, the bull giving chase. It bellowed loudly, and Madison's fear spiked. "Oh my gosh, I knew this was going to happen." Later, Daniel was scrubbing her arm in their rather luxurious bathtub. It was large enough for both of them, though they were still a bit cramped. He wore a stern expression. "I told you not to run, and look what happened," he said. "I panicked," Madison argued. Besides, you laughed at me. That means you don't really want me as your wife." "I love you," Daniel murmured. Madison's words died on her lips. She stared at him, eyes wide. "You love me?" she repeated, her heart skipping a beat. He nodded. "Yes, I love you, Madison." She suddenly had an idea. "Do you expect me to believe that so easily? Prove it." A smile curved his lips. "Okay." He cupped her chin and pressed a sweet kiss on her mouth. She closed her eyes and kissed him back, and this time he didn't stop at her lips. In that steamy moment, Madison found herself too overwhelmed to resist the battle that followed, which left her with a fever the next day. Her little cave thoroughly conquered by Daniel's persistent advances. Now, Madison lay in bed feeling hot, and not in a romantic way. She was literally running a fever. Daniel dabbed her forehead with a cool towel. "I'm sorry," he said. "Maybe we shouldn't have done that. You ended up sick." "It'll go away," she said weakly. "Yes, it'll go away and won't happen again," she joked, scowling a bit. He peered at her, eyes narrowed. "Really?" She blushed. "Well, maybe once I feel better," she mumbled, glancing away. During the weeks they spent on Daniel's family farm, Madison learned a lot about running it. Riding Daniel's horse, she toured the land. She discovered something else, too. She was pregnant. "You're pregnant?" Daniel asked, needing confirmation. They were in the living room of the farmhouse. She nodded. "Yes, I am, husband. I'm pregnant," she repeated, and Daniel whooped with joy, pulling her into a tight hug. Madison made a call to her friend Aubrey. "I'm pregnant, friend," she said excitedly. "I'm going to be a mom, and you and Jessica will be godmothers." "Wow," Aubrey said. "You really followed through on that plan, huh? Congrats." "Thanks. And by the way, tell the office folks I said hi. Let them know the CEO's about to be a dad," Madison teased. "You're good at handling all that gossip. I'll have souvenirs for you and Jessica when I get back." She ended the call, grinning as she cradled her stomach. She would be a mother soon. She could hardly believe it. Not so long ago, her ugly ex had dumped her and taken back every gift he'd ever given her. Then came that drunken wedding, which led to a blessing she never saw coming. She was sure their baby would be beautiful, given how handsome Daniel was. Madison turned when Daniel entered the bedroom. "Are we heading back tomorrow?" she asked, walking over to him. He nodded. "Yes, we'll leave in the morning." She smiled even bigger. "Good. I can't wait to tell my mom I'm pregnant, but first I have a question." "Go ahead," he said, taking her hand. Madison felt her heart flutter. "Do you love me?" she asked softly, looking into his eyes. "Do you want me to show you physically?" he asked, a mischievous grin forming. He shook his head again. "No, I just want to hear you say it." Madison took a deep breath. "Daniel, you're not hard to love," she said. "You won me over easily, not just because you're handsome, but because you have a good heart. So yes, I love you." "Then—" Daniel suddenly dropped to one knee, producing a small ring box. Madison gasped. "Will you marry me again?" he asked. "For real this time. No more drunken ceremony. We can do it in a church. Would you like that?" Madison felt tears prick her eyes, overwhelmed with joy. "You really want to be with me, Daniel? You won't regret this?" "You make me happy," Daniel said earnestly. "You're my world now, and I want to give you the most memorable wedding ever. So, will you marry me again?" She nodded, wiping her tears. "Yes, of course I will, and we won't be drunk this time." He slipped the ring on her finger, then scooped her into a hug and spun her around. She let out a startled gasp as a loud pop sounded. It was a party popper set off by Daniel's mum, who stood at the doorway. His dad followed behind with a cake decorated with the words, "Congratulations." "Congrats, kids," his mom exclaimed, hugging them both. Madison felt fully embraced by Daniel's family. They returned to the city, and as soon as Madison told her own mom about the pregnancy, word spread like wildfire. As expected, when Madison went back to work, people congratulated her. Until someone rushed in, shouting, "There's a commotion outside! Some guy's yelling it's his baby!" It turned out to be Ethan, her ex, standing near the front of the building. He's claiming he's the baby's father, calling Madison a cheater, another co-worker said nervously. Madison's temper flared. "What?" She stormed outside to find Ethan arguing with the security guard. He grinned when he saw her. "Madison," he said, walking toward her. "So, you're pregnant, right? Must be my baby. I'll tell my parents we're having a child." She didn't let him finish. She slapped him hard across the cheek, causing him to curse. "Are you insane?" Madison growled. "You need to leave me alone. You're not the father of my baby, and you never even touched me that way." "So you gave it up for that new man you barely know, but not for me," Ethan sneered. "I waited and waited, but you never let me in. Then you go and hop into bed with some rich pretty boy because he's better looking and wealthier than me." She shoved him away. "Go away, Ethan. You're making a scene." "I'm embarrassing you because I'm ugly, huh?" he ranted. "Yet I loved you. I didn't care that you were way out of my league, but apparently I'm not good enough for you." "You're right, you're not," she snapped. "I cared for you once, but then I saw how rotten you were inside. And by the way, I'm not interested in anything about you now. Stay out of my life." He shook his head. Come back to me, Madison. I'll even accept that kid. Just come back." He seized her arm, but before he could drag her away, Daniel arrived and sent Ethan sprawling with a single punch. "Hey, psycho, we've been through this," Daniel stated coldly as Ethan scrambled to his feet. "You have no right to lay a finger on my wife. If you don't want to lose whatever luxuries you've got left, don't ever step on my property again." Ethan snorted. "You think you can destroy me?" He glared at Daniel. Daniel simply signaled to security to move Ethan along. "Don't touch me," Ethan barked at the guards. "I'll leave on my own. What a screwed up life this is." He stormed off. "I promise you won't ever see him again. My wife," Daniel murmured, gathering Madison close. "I'll teach him a lesson for messing with you." Madison pressed a hand over her chest, relieved. She hugged Daniel, leaning into his shoulder. "Thank you, husband," she whispered. She noticed Hannah watching them from the sidelines. With an annoyed glare, Madison flipped her off before closing her eyes to relish Daniel's embrace. She heard a few shocked gasps, but didn't care. She was leaving her job soon anyway to focus on her pregnancy. A month later, Madison and Daniel had a proper church wedding. The guest list was small, just close friends on both sides. Madison even invited Hannah, hoping she'd witness just how much Daniel and Madison truly loved each other. Hannah didn't show up. The moment arrived for Madison to toss her bridal bouquet to the single ladies. She faced away from them, tossing it over her shoulder. When she turned back around, her jaw dropped. Her sister Lauren, who hadn't even been trying to catch it, ended up with the flowers in her arms. She was in the middle of yanking on her boyfriend Aaron's hair, bickering with him on the sidelines. "Marry me," Aaron announced to Lauren, half joking. "No way," Lauren retorted, shoving the bouquet in his face. Everyone laughed. Madison hugged Daniel at her side. "Thank you, my husband, for such a beautiful wedding," she said, gazing up at him. "I love you." Daniel pulled her closer by the waist. "I love you too, and so does our little baby," he said, resting his hand on her stomach. There wasn't much of a bump yet, but the baby was definitely there. Madison felt her cheeks warm as Daniel gave her a tender look. "Can I prove just how much I love you again right now?" he teased. She gasped softly. I'd love that. Show everyone I'm yours and yours alone, she replied. He leaned down, and she closed her eyes as their lips met. Cheers erupted from the guests. She tightened her grip on Daniel's hand, resting it over her belly. So, what's the moral of their story? Feel free to comment below. Madison and Daniel are definitely reading and sending hearts your way. Many, many thanks, and see you next time.